Hello, London. It's my first time back in the UK since before the pandemic. It's my first time back in Olympia in a very long time. I actually spoke about artificial intelligence here in 2014. Thank you, sir. Who is ready for some skills and capabilities that we're going to get into? Like, what do we do about this? Like, how do we get some real, tangible skills and capabilities so that we can stay 4 minutes ahead of our customers, at the very least, because we can see that our lead time is definitely shrinking for sure. All right, so 90 seconds. I'm going to have you in just a moment. 90 seconds, turn to a partner, and the question that I have for you, industrial age, steam locomotive, British Railways, 1950s. What was the catalyst that ended steam locomotives here in the UK in the 1950s? Find a partner, 90 seconds, go. No, I got it. I got it. Thanks. Thirty seconds. Okay, what did you come up with? What happened to steam locomotive in the 1950s? What was the primary catalyst? Joe?
Electricity and the beaching report.
Electricity and?
The beaching report.
The beaching report. What was the beaching report?
Analysis, cut back on financial shock.
On the finances, because at the time it was like 7,000 rail stations and only 35 out of 7,000 were actually making any money that paid for the entire rail system. Let me say that again. 7,000 rail stations and only 35 of them made enough revenue that supported the entire rail system at that time. What else was going on in the 1950s? Yeah? Smoke. Oh, the smog, because of the steam, because of, well, and the fireboxes, cleaning out the fireboxes. What else was going on? Thank you for that. What else was going on? The post-modernization plan, right? Post-modernization. And the post-war. What was it about the war? Got it. Nuclear power, thank you. Excellent. And people. Here is the other thing that was happening. What was going on, Paul? The start of computing. Oh, interesting. People. People were the catalyst behind what was happening in 1955. There was a strike. So the workforce at the time for British Rail was about 650,000 people, and after the war, it had really low unemployment here. And they couldn't find enough talent to come back and work on the railways. And it took an awful lot of labor, it took an awful lot of people in order to be able to run the steam locomotives. And so what they needed to do was to figure out a way to be able to automate. And so some of the new technologies that had been around actually for a little while, like electrification, electricity, they hadn't adopted it. The organizations were too slow or the rail was too slow on the uptake. It wasn't until they had two problems with the people. They had the strike and then they had wage inflation. and they couldn't find enough people to run the trains, and then labor was really very expensive. And so one of the things that they say, right, is that history often doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And we're finding ourselves actually in very similar times today. Are our organizations able to find the talent? Where are the ways that we are automating in order to be able to fill the gaps where it is that we don't have enough people in order to be able to do the work in order to operate? But one of the other things that happened with the rail at that time, with the train, was that when they went to do the automation, when they went to put in the diesel trains and they went to put in the electric trains, they tried to keep everything the same. So they tried to do a one-to-one replacement, and they didn't change anything. They didn't rethink what transportation might look like by using the new technology. And so what they did was they did the same old cow path. They followed what Drucker would call the routinization trap. And what that means is we take a brand new technology and we apply it to old processes without considering first how it is that what is now newly possible with that kind of new technology. And so one of the things that we need to do when we're thinking about learning and development is, like Detlef just said and just showed us, there's a number of ways that we can apply the technology in order to routinize, in order to automate those processes that are standard. And that is a great place to start because it gives us context. We understand our processes and the work that we do, but it's not the place that we can stay. So we're going to make sure that we avoid the routinization trap by making sure that we apply brand new technology, in this case, generative AI, and hybrid artificial intelligence. So how do we start mixing generative AI and traditional artificial intelligence along with data in order to be able to create things that are new? And that's where it is that we're going to do in order to be able to keep pace and stay ahead of what's happening with this sweep of automation. Now, one of the other things that Detlef showed in his presentation is a lot of the capabilities that's happening with these models now. They don't just output text anymore, right? They can output images, just about every image that you see in the deck, and every single image that you see in my deck, including this photo of a train, is not a photo at all. It was created by artificial intelligence. Do you know how much it cost me to generate? $0. Zero. So the images that I have in my deck today, and again, we're going to make sure that we share the decks, all of these images I created using bing.com/create. If you go to bing.com/create, if you have a Microsoft account, a free Microsoft account, or an enterprise account, you can use Bing in order to create images now right there in the browser for free. So as L&D professionals and creating like online learning or putting together presentation materials, what does it mean to be able to almost instantly, for no cost, create any image that you want that could be photorealistic that you could include in your materials and your presentations? What would that do to cost effectiveness right off the bat and speed? And I mean just about anything that you've got in your imagination, you can now go ahead and produce from just typing in a couple of lines of text. Crazy, huh? But this is where we're at. Okay, so this is our moment. Where are we at now? What is happening that's new? And then where are things going to go next? So here we are as an industry. So this is from the Learning and Performance Institute from LPI. I actually worked with LPI back in 2017 to put together the then brand new capability map for 2018. And we were talking about artificial intelligence back then, and it was traditional AI. And then along came generative AI, which has just set everything into an inflection point. Now, why? What is it about ChatGPT? What is it about this new technology with generative AI that's just suddenly churned everything up, even though we've had artificial intelligence happening for the past, since the 1950s, right? It's that it democratizes. It actually allows us to be able to democratize expertise. So we're finding out that these generative AI models, ChatGPT is just one product. At the end of 2022, we've actually had generative AI since 2018. Just nobody knew about it until ChatGPT came around, and that suddenly was what caught the public's attention. We actually, at the end of 2023, had over 100,000 different models of generative AI. ChatGPT is just one of them. And so when we think about the L&D challenges that we currently have, coming out of 2023 and now here we are in early days of 2024, how is it that we might be able to solve some of the problems or challenges in L&D that we've had for a really long time? Things like measurement, things like alignment to the business, things like being able to get closer to the learners, things like being able to keep pace with the business. How might we use generative AI as a place to start there? And then again, thinking ahead to what else might be possible. So how can it help us solve some of these challenges or address some of these challenges? And how does it take some of our long-time challenges and actually make them table stakes, whereas before they were aspirational goals? So as an example, measurement, impact. We can now use generative AI, and even more importantly, people outside of L&D can use generative AI in order to measure the impact or not of the L&D function. And these are the things that we need to be aware of, is that the technology democratizes the expertise. That's the big thing with generative AI. So in everyday AI, this is from Gartner, and Gartner has this radar where on the left-hand side, we've got routinization, right? So this is automating existing and known processes. That's everyday AI. And on the right-hand side is being able to come up with new products and services, right? And being able to come up with new core capabilities, things that were never possible before. That's game-changing AI. And we need to be able to not only know the difference, but actually be able to practice the difference. So again, how do we apply the technology to what it is that we're already doing today? And how do we be able to use it to do things that we just never were able to do before? Anybody remember this person? This is also 10 years old. This is from 2014. This is when Josh Burson was at Deloitte and came up with the idea about overwhelmed, how our learners had become overwhelmed, and how much of their work week would they have in order to be able to devote to formal instruction. Does anybody know how much 1% of the work week is in this particular case? How much time does 1% translate into the work week for our learners to be able to pay attention to formal instruction? And this goes back a decade now. You ready? 24 minutes. How much of your learning experiences right now and the solutions that you're putting out there could people actually be able to engage with and complete within 24 minutes in a given work week? And you know what they want from us? The customer demand is they want us to go even faster. So this is actually research from Microsoft that just came from the work index. So the work index trends, this is a sample size of about 30,000 workers across the globe. And you're going to see, what do they want? They want better, faster, easier. Better, don't we all? We want better, faster, easier. And what do we want that's better, faster, and easier? We want to be able to learn faster. We want to be able to connect with information faster. We want to be able to cut our meeting time in half, and we want to be able to learn and develop skills in half the time than what it is that it takes us to do now. And so the question is, as an L&D community, are we ready to provide the services and the products in order to be able to help them do that? Okay. find a partner, 60 seconds. If you could do anything with the new technology that would really help to facilitate this cause, what would it be? No constraints. 60 seconds, go. Thank you. Okay. We're going to take a look at some of the things that might be possible. Well, here we're going to do this. If you can hear the sound of my voice, clap 1 time. If you can hear the sound of my voice, clap 2 times. If you can hear the sound of voice, clap 3 times. Facilitation, right? Like, ha, I have the stage. Excellent, thank you. So, okay, so we're going to take a look at some of the things that are possible, but on our way to get there, the next question is, what are the skills and the capabilities that we need as practitioners and as leaders in order to be able to actually be successful in this age of AI? And I love this. I don't know if you've seen Daniel Susskind and Richard Suskind's work on the professions. So not specific to L&D, but professional and professional expertise. They've been talking about this stuff for a long time, also the better part of a decade, and how it is that we've got different types of technology, including artificial intelligence, that's coming in. It's not that our expertise is becoming less valuable, it's actually that our expertise is becoming even more valuable, and because of that, clients or customers are no longer willing to tolerate the barriers to having access. So as our organizations need to be able to adapt and learn faster, as our workforces and our people need to be able to adapt and work faster, if we're not keeping pace with them, they're going to go around us. And the technology allows them to do that. And the internet and social media allows them to connect with the ways of being able to do that, right? So this is that democratization. And so this is what Detlef was talking about as far as we're only 4 minutes ahead, and that's just going to get shorter. This is the name of the game for the rest of our careers. And so we've got to be able to figure out how it is that we continuously adapt. This isn't going to be a one-time thing. This is going to be a constant. And oh, by the way, the next sweep of technologies are coming right on the heels of artificial intelligence. And we're going to see not only the next round of technology coming in, but all of those technologies are going to be converging. So people think like the metaverse went away, that was flavor of the day. It didn't. It just went underground. We're going to see it pop back up again, and it's going to be infused with artificial intelligence. Blockchain, we're going to see blockchain come in. It's going to actually be one of the technologies that we use in order to authenticate AI-generated content. We're going to see a lot of these things begin to converge. And so I love this framework to be able to go, well, where do we start? Like, how do we start, or how do we continue? So it's a crawl, walk, run, fly framework. The place to start is to experiment. And so experimentation means playing around with a bunch of different tools. So it could be ChatGPT and doing text generation. It could also be image generation, right? So using like Bing or using DALL-E or using Stable Diffusion, or even the premium version of ChatGPT now allows you to generate images. What are the different ways that you can use the tools, use generative AI with these different types of modalities? We even have the ability now where cinematic AI made its debut at the Venice Film Festival in September. We can actually go from you put in a text command, like think of a notepad file, and you get a full featured film as the output. That's what Hollywood in the US was all upset about and continues to be upset about with all of the strike. Like that's how fast we can actually do that now, is be able to put in text inputs and get these kinds of robust, rich outputs from that kind of media. So with the crawl phase, how do you experiment with these different types of tools? The walking phase becomes, how do you then start to take these tools and put them together in a workflow? So these are some of the things that was being shared with like the different use cases. So how do you look at your learning experience design workflow? How do you look at your learning delivery workflows? How do you then take a look at the tools that you've experimented with and actually use those tools applied to specific tasks and activities? Because it's the big thing that's happening for us is it's not so much that the roles are going, the roles themselves aren't necessarily going to disappear. It's the work that the roles do in L&D is going to change because some of the tasks and activities are just going to be taken over by the machines, and then the other tasks and activities that are higher value need to be conducted by the humans. We have to get really good at figuring out what those differences are. What are the tasks and activities that we do in our individual roles today? What can we automate with the machines, not augment? What can we automate with the machines today? And then what are the things that we can keep that actually moves us higher up the value stream so that we continue to offer value? So the walk phase is what starts to get us in there. And again, this is routinization. This is automation applied to current processes, current known tasks. When we get into run is when we start really automating and we're looking at the art of the new, right? What can we newly do that we weren't able to do before? And when we get into fly, this is where we get into fully autonomous. We're going to be managing artificial intelligence teams by the end of this year, by 2024. Every single person in this room, you're going to have AI teammates that are going to be with your human teammates. And so if that's happening to us as L&D, then what is happening with that in other populations in our organizations, right? Like, how are we going to get our leaders and our managers ready in order to be able to manage and lead these hybrid teams? And it needs to start with us. Okay, so the last couple of things here. In developing your AI fluency is getting into not just analytical judgment, oh, that's the number one. And analytical judgment in this particular case means being able to tell the difference. What are the things that go to the machine versus what are the things that we as humans do as far as tasks and activities are concerned? That's what analytical judgment means. This framework is also from Microsoft. The next framework that I'm going to share with you is actually one that I created. This is what I've actually been developing my team with in a T-shaped L&D career. So horizontal bar across the top, what are foundational skills that everybody on the team needs regardless of their particular role? And then the vertical is going to be what is it that they then specialize in. And so one of the teams that I lead is actually a learning technology team. And we actually worked with compensation in HR last year to officially change their roles to learning engineers. Now that's not a fancy title that I dreamt up in Chicago. That's an actual professional discipline from IEEE. Like all other engineering, like electrical engineers and civil engineers and software engineers, IEEE, that professional association, learning engineering is an actual real professional practice with a body of work and real skills and capabilities. And these are the capabilities across this horizontal role. When we then take that and match it with the skills and capabilities under AI fluency, and then bring it into a particular role. So the role here could be instructional designer, a learning experience designer. It could be a learning leader. It could be a facilitator or a trainer. But we all have the same foundation. How much you need, to what degree of proficiency you need in the foundational skills is going to vary depending on whatever it is that your specialty is, but everybody needs the same base skills. Make sense? Helpful to see this? Yeah. Okay. So the last piece here is to think about, we've been talking about how it is that we can apply it to current roles, but what might some of the new roles take a look at, or what might some of the new roles be? What about head of business behavior? And again, all the photos you see on the screen are AI generated. I created them with a text prompt. They look human. I generated them for free. What if we've got a data detective, an AI orchestrator who actually helps to manage the AI team members? So we're not just talking about AI as a tool, we're talking about AI as teammates. What about a chatbot and human facilitator? These roles all currently exist. This is actually research from Gene Meister and Cognizant that goes back to 2017. These roles are now actually in play. So the last bit here on game-changing AI, remember the other side of the equation, this is where we start really getting into solving that Benjamin Bloom 2 Sigma challenge. And how is it that we might be able to provide, again, capabilities, products, and services that we've never dreamt possible before? Like, what if there was an AI tutor for everybody? It's actually something that they're doing in the UAE right now, is they've actually developed a tutoring system that's built off of generative AI, and the United Arab Emirates is giving it away to every student in the UAE for free, to tutor them on any subject that's available. What if we had that kind of technology for our workforce? That's possible now. And we'll end here. And this is that fly piece. We already are at a point of having agentic AI, which are fully autonomous AI teams that can then work together in order to be able to produce something. There's a really interesting, if you want to see it in a use case outside of L&D for right now, there's a use case from an organization called Fable Studios, and they actually created something that's called AI Showrunner. An AI Showrunner creates South Park episodes from a text prompt. So you put in a text prompt about what it is that you want the South Park episode to be about, and it has little AI agents. One's a director, some of them are actors, there's a writer, and those little AI agents all work together in order to produce the show in 2 minutes. So what if we had that AI agents that were learning and performance consultants and instructional designers and learning experience designers and learning tech that were fully autonomous, that if we just gave it a couple of text prompts, it could go ahead and produce that kind of learning. We're already at that point. We're going to see more of that happen as we go deeper into 2024. So closing, think about what's happening now, what's happening next, and what can we see out maybe that we can prepare for in what-if scenarios a year or more. Think about it in those 3 different time horizons. And then get busy with these tools. Like if If you've already started, go deeper. If you haven't started yet, get started now. And we've got a ton of resources for you that we've put together in order to make sure that you've got a place to go and that you can bring along your teams and bring along your organizations. Thanks for having us at the World of Learning. It's glad to be here. It's good to see you.